Let's talk about rough and tumble play. Rough and tumble play. It's rough in some way. It's the type of play where parents and teachers like to say, cut that out, no roughhousing. All right, what is rough and tumble play? And is it a good thing? All play, generally, is a good thing. Spoiler alert, but what is rough and tumble play in particular? Rough and tumble play is play that mimics aggression. All right, so it's good. It's kind of like, I am being aggressive now, but it is all for pretend. It's not genuine aggression. That is an important distinction. And this can involve wrestling, or down in the South, sometimes, my cousins like to say wrestling. I always remember my aunt growing up, my cousins would be, I'd say wrestling, yeah. They'd be wrestling in the back of the station wagon and she'd, boys, stop wrestling. All right, so it could be wrestling or wrestling, chasing each other around. I'm gonna get you. All right, hitting, but hitting without the intention of harm. Play fighting, play hitting, play chasing. Rough and tumble play allows children to act out their aggression, to act out those sort of forbidden emotions and behaviors that are typically prohibited, and they get to act it out in a safe environment where they're not actually in danger of being harmed. It happens, but it's an accident when it happens. It's a good idea to supervise rough and tumble play. Just be like, okay, you guys are getting, you guys and gals are getting a little overexcited there. Let's go. Let's bring it down a little bit, and please don't jump off of that thing onto the concrete. It doesn't hurt to supervise rough and tumble play, but rough and tumble play is not truly aggressive. It is a safe, pretend aggressive sort of situation, and so you get to act out expressions and gestures that signify that they're just pretending. I'm going to get you, but you're smiling while you do it. There should not be actual fear, like, oh my gosh, they're really mad at me. I mean, there could be misunderstandings, but that's not the purpose of the rough and tumble play. Now, rough and tumble play. If we were in a live class, I'd say, okay, folks, boys or girls, who engages in rough and tumble play? And we know what they're going to say. That's a boy thing. We do see that rough and tumble play is particularly common among young males. But does that mean that girls have no interest, no desire, no excitement from rough and tumble play? No, it does not. Girls love rough and tumble play too. We do have this tricky thing. Socialization also interacts here. When girls engage in rough and tumble play, sometimes they are outright discouraged by people saying things like, stop that, that's not for young ladies, that's not for little girls. Go play with your dolls. Now, there are some girls who are like, I'm not interested in that at all. I don't want to do rough and tumble play. That looks like a way to get dirty, but there are plenty of girls out there who have stories of being they would have engaged in rough and tumble play if allowed. Also, when you often get messy. You might get skin knees, you might get, dirt on your clothes, rips in your clothes from rough and tumble play. It happens. We tend to tolerate, in general, as a society, we tend to tolerate that more in boys. With girls, it's like, you ruined your pretty outfit. All right, so I always like to point that out. Please do not think that means girls have no interest and can gain no benefit from rough and tumble play. All right, so rough and tumble play, good or bad? Yeah, there's risk for injury. You should supervise it. All right, don't just let them run wild. Make sure you can see what's going on. Make sure there's safety rules. Are there benefits to rough and tumble play? Heck yeah. There are benefits to rough and tumble play. It advances children's social understanding. It helps them learn how to get along with others. And a lot of times you have to set up a scenario with rough and tumble play. You have to set like, hey, what are we doing now? It helps kids with their planning. They have to organize what is going on. Even for something as simple as let's chase each other around, you have to figure out what you're going to do. And very importantly, for emotion regulation benefits. Rough and tumble play involves getting really excited, getting really worked up, yeah. And then at some point, the school bell will ring. A parent will say, girls, notice I said girls, not boys. Girls, it's time for dinner. You know, it'll be time to stop eventually. And then that child has to figure out how to calm themselves down so they can return to other activities. This helps with emotion regulation. It may positively affect limbic system development. What is the limbic system? For simplicity, parts of the brain that is involved in emotions and emotion regulation. So, good for brain development too. I also mentioned social skills. All right, this is something you do with other kids. You have to develop your social skills for knowing how far to go, when to stop. Impulse control is really important for rough and tumble play. It's good to get practice with impulse control. That developing prefrontal cortex is going to help with developing impulse control and not going so far that people get hurt. Creativity has been correlated with rough and tumble play in some studies. No, that doesn't make sense. Art should be correlated with rough and tumble play. Nope. Art should be correlated with creativity, not rough and tumble play. Nope, guess what? Rough and tumble play too. Lots of things. And it's not surprising, gross motor skills, because rough and tumble play often involves, exercise, working on your muscles, working on your movements. So there are so many benefits to rough and tumble play. Let the kids engage in the rough and tumble play, boys and girls, as long as it's supervised. All right? Lots of benefits to rough and tumble play. Rough and tumble play is a good thing. I will bring up one more thing related to rough and tumble play. Sometimes people add a pretend element to rough and tumble play. In a future video, I will talk about pretend play or socio-dramatic play. But some people like to engage in superhero play. Oh man, I've got some fond memories of superhero play. In my day, we used to pretend like we were the Justice League. And you might think, oh, I bet you were Wonder Woman if you were playing with a bunch of boys. Sometimes I was Batman because everybody wants to be Batman, let's face it. And then I found out there was a Batgirl. And I'm like, all right, I'm Barbara Gordon now. All right, so superhero play. There's actually been a few articles out in the past decade or so, a few articles about how some schools were banning superhero play because they were worried that it mimics aggression or that people were going to get hurt. All right, superhero play, if it involves that rough and tumble component, they're not going to get that benefit. And it involves the pretend component. And in the future video, we'll talk about extra benefits you get from the pretend component. So don't ban superhero play, please. Supervise it, but allow the superhero play. You can get so many benefits, especially if you pick the cool superheroes. Best superheroes, Squirrel Girl, Marvel. No movie yet. Look up Squirrel Girl. She's unbeatable. All right. And She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters. I can't wait for the show. She-Hulk.